Pillar to post and coast to coast, this is The Law.
Live audio wrestling.
A lot of people will want to know about the relationship, and there really doesn't seem to be much of one, with the Hardys, and what the end goal is here. Is that, I mean, that's gotta be frustrating that it's this shadow that seems to still be looming over. And will this come to some resolution at the end? Is this just going to continue at this stage where it seems like the one end are publicly making comments? You've kept very quiet about your own thoughts regarding the characters that you believe you have ownership of, and the Hardys that seem to be pushing as much as they can to play those characters on television.
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe I have ownership of. I know I have ownership of. So that's, I mean,
but they're disputing that.
I don't think they actually genuinely are. I think there is unquestionably that the ownership of the characters in the storyline resides in Impact Wrestling. And I don't think even the Hardys would dispute that direct. I mean, they've all signed contracts. Their contracts are standard contracts not only in the wrestling industry, but in the entertainment industry generally. The producer of a show owns the content, and it doesn't really matter who in the creative team or a character who came up with an idea of what the character should be. The person that owns the storyline and the character is the person that invested to take that idea and put it on TV. And that's what we did. That's what Impact put those on TV under contracts with those people that are indisputably contracts that provide the IP to Impact. So I don't think there's any genuine dispute about who owns the talent or who owns the characters and the gestures and the costume and all of that. It begs the question about whether there's independently a reason to allow a character or a person to use the gimmick in other venues and in other circumstances. And there may be there's heat about that, obviously, and hopefully that gets resolved.
Are you open to speaking and sitting
of course.
down?
Yeah, I was open to speaking before. I'm open now. We've offered many times to find an arrangement with the Hardys that would allow them to continue to use the gimmick, within sort of reasonable parameters as to what's important to us, and what would be important to them. I understand with the dynamic of their move to the WWE and the drama with which they created that launch, I understand sort of their plan to create maximum heat in that period from when they announced to us that they weren't going to sign the contracts to the date that they kind of revealed their new location for sure. I got the heat side of it for wrestling purposes, but I kind of half expected once that had been achieved that the thing would die its own natural death, because as far as I know, the WWE doesn't want the gimmick, and indeed from every conversation I've had with them as to what they want with it, and I've been told they have no interest in it, so I don't.
So they're not actively pursuing it from you?
Oh God, no. I mean, we've been in communication because there's all this chatter about how we're keeping it away from them, and I'm taking heat because I'm keeping something from you. If you want it, why don't you call me? And their answer to me has been no, not interested.
One other thing I wanted to clear up, because the way this came out was back in March, where the Hardys appeared at a Ring of Honor event in Manhattan, announcing they would be on the following Friday's pay-per-view.
Right.
What was the reaction on your end? And when you first spoke to any officials at Ring of Honor, because it was heavily teased they would be appearing at the pay-per-view as these characters, and what had come out was that Friday they were notified a few hours before the pay-per-view about utilizing these characters on their broadcast.
Yeah, I don't really remember the entire sort of sequencing of what was teased and what wasn't teased and what was out and not out. I mean, when Matt had decided that he wasn't going to sign his contract, he told me, and I knew what dates were lined up for the Ring of Honor, because candidly I'd been part of negotiating those dates. The whole line we were running in tandem with Ring of Honor was Young Bucks against the Hardys, and the Young Bucks were supposed to come to our taping in March that they didn't show up at. So There had been a lot of discussion about what that storyline was going to run through a couple of months, and cooperation with Ring of Honor as to they could use our talent on their show, we would use their talent on our show, and we would all the wrestling fan in total would win from this. So it wasn't surprise to me that there were dates set with Ring of Honor to allow that interaction between the Hardy brothers and the Young Bucks to sort of play out. And Matt confirmed that to me when he told me he wasn't going to sign my contract. So I wasn't particularly surprised when he showed up at the Manhattan event, and wasn't particularly surprised he was going to be showing up in the pay-per-view event. The issue only arose as to whether they're showing up as the Hardy brothers or are they showing up as Broken Matt and Brother Nero. And we had conversations with the Ring of Honor people before the Manhattan event as to kind of what was good and what I was going to be good with and what they were good with, and I thought we had an understanding as to where the line was going to be, and they communicated to me that they understood our position and would honor it, and it became apparent in the day before, I guess, the pay-per-view event, that whatever Ring of Honor was putting forward as to who was showing up, that what was being teased and actually intended to happen was going to be the characters. So that gave rise to, guys, we did what people that own intellectual property does. You can't do that, but we had an understanding. You're not living by that understanding.
And how would you characterize the relationship now with Ring of Honor? Because
fine.
It's an interesting situation that you would see with the Fight Network airing both, that there's a lot of opportunities there between both promotions and cross-pollination even.
Yeah, I think the Ring of Honor people would have preferred we hadn't interfered with that show. I don't think that they hold any ill will toward me for doing what I did. So it's I've had discussions with Joe from time to time, and hopefully there'll be other opportunities because I do think that, as you say, there's still opportunities for us to be working with Ring of Honor in much the same way as we intended to do before the Hardy brothers left. They've got lots of other wrestlers within their organization that would be fun to see against our wrestlers, and vice versa, I'm sure. So hopefully, as the heat from all of this dies down at some point, we can start working with them in much the same way as we intend to work with AAA or NOAH or anybody else. It doesn't have to be an international partner for us to be wanting to bring the fans opportunities to see the matchups that the fans want to see.